This is a review that you might not think needed to be done, at least not on this channel, but actually it does. There's many reasons for that to be the case, but let's talk about the music first and then we'll sort everything else out. Foster the People, Supermodel. Now you might remember this band as the group that probably annoyed the crap out of you in 2011 and 2012 with their song Pumped Up Kicks, which was just a huge crossover hit that spanned both alternative and rock and even easy listening airwaves. So it was something that charted very highly on each of those charts and seemed to always have some sort of representation. Funny part about it is that songs' dark theme matter, and something that you wouldn't actually expect some of those subsections to really enjoy as much as they do. The minute that they start to, understand what it's about, they tend to feel a little bit differently about it, but still love the song. That's what music is really all about, no matter what the subject matter happens to be. If you love the music, you love the music. So with Supermodel, their second album, this is something where Mark Foster and the remainder of his people, originally the band was called Foster and His People, sought to make something that was a little bit more all about what this band was to be about. Not something that was as electronically driven as the last album was, with sparse instrumentalization. Otherwise, this is one that's supposed to be a little bit more organically driven. A little bit more driven by some worldly instruments, something that definitely has a little bit more of a guitar touch, something that has a little bit more of a personal touch, and really by Mark Foster's own wordplay, something that's a little bit more angry. The phrase Supermodel and the whole album itself is a concept album based around consumerism and the way in which we ourselves now are based around how many likes or retweets that we get, which, for me being on YouTube and saying that, is definitely somewhat of a strange paradox, because, I would love for this video to get a ton of views. But the reason why is so I can spread the message about the album, to know that it's available, not to mention because I really like Torches. I really like their first album. So with Supermodel coming and with all of these changes, there's definitely a lot of questions that need to be answered, and they're answered rather immediately, because this definitely has a different tone to it. It has a different sound to it. From the minute that you open up this album with its very first track, Are You What You Want to Be, you can definitely tell that there's going to be a lot of differences. The one thing that I like about this album is that it showcases one of his true loves, and that's the fact that he's a huge Beach Boys fan. Some of the harmonies that you hear on here definitely rival what you heard from the Beach Boys whenever they were at their peak in the 1960s and the earlier part of the 1970s. But one thing that's also very true about this is the diversity of styles that were really implemented by the band on the entirety of this disc. It's to the point where they were using a mobile studio and basically subscribing to the culture that the most uncomfortable moments are those that actually provoke the most beautiful moments musically, which they definitely got a couple of those on here. Goats and Trees are definitely one that kind of boasts as an example. Meanwhile, Fire Escape is one that kind of closes the album on a very soft note as opposed to really ramping you up. I really like tracks on here such as Coming of Age, which almost makes me think that Foster the People had, listened to Day and Age by the Killers and sort of decided to adopt their own mentality about it a little bit. I really also enjoy, and I have to look at this one because it's just impossible for me to remember, Pseudologica Fantastica and the angelic welcoming of Mr. Jones going right into Best Friend. Best Friend kind of having some of the most comical, but also some of the harshest lyrics on the album, considering you're talking about how your best friend is a junkie and strung out. Overall, the angry theme on this album is somewhat overshadowed by the fact that this band has that dance pop edge that really just makes them kind of hard to take all of that, seriously. It's hard to approach a lot of the angry lyricism with an angry face because the music just makes you feel good. This is actually a great album, and I think that that's where a lot of the differences are going to really be pre-established between myself and probably other reviewers. I know this because I've read a lot of the other reviews. I mean, I'm not talking about here on YouTube, and I'm not talking about on social media. I'm talking about the official cats, the people who are 100% in the media. They're getting paid to do this, and they're getting paid a whole hell of a lot more than I ever will. And it's probably based 100% around my style. 100% everybody these days is a supermodel. We are going after likes, we are going after retweets. Hell, one of the main things that piss me off about culture by itself is that there's a lot of people that basically just get on social media clamoring for attention. Yeah, they have problems and yeah, they have issues, but they go on there with the issue of having and desiring the attention that they feel that they are deserving of based around their issue. this album was given some pretty scathing remarks saying that it was something that was too diversely different from Torches. It was something that needed to have a little bit more of Torches infused upon it. It was something where Torches had all of this, whereas Supermodel had all of that. And then it dawned on me. You're following exactly what Mark Foster did not want to follow. You're following exactly what the band was trying to speak about and what the band is trying to avoid. Basically, by saying and comparing to Torches so much, you're essentially saying that the only way that Foster the People can be good, the only way that Foster the People can be relevant within this society is if they write albums like Torches over and over again. One of the principal thematic ideas of Supermodel is the fact that we all have to design ourselves a certain way, we all have to showcase ourselves a certain way, we all have to speak certain words, dress a certain way, and walk a certain way in order to be seen as a relevant member of society. Whereas everything else, all of our faults, all of our flaws, are kind of left to the back burner. It was something that we have to keep deep down inside. But yet all of the people in the media, all of the tabloid junkies and things like that are just waiting for that moment where you're actually human in order to cash in on your lowest moment and design a story around it as to why it happened, whether it's true or not. So basically by doing that, these reviewers are saying that Foster the People had a design and they have to maintain that design. They've already, walked the right way, talked the right way, and did all the right things, so why should they stop doing that? And that's because, unlike being a supermodel, unlike being a person in the public eye, unlike being this idea that America has spawned about everybody being a supermodel, either that or everybody being on film, on record, and that every single moment of weakness is seen as a laughable offense, they've decided not to do that. They've decided to openly expand and break out of that loop, break out of that spotlight, break out of that shadow. Instead, they create something that's a little bit more to the heart, a little bit more organic, as they said, but the way that I look at it, it's a little more personal, something where they set their course on a designed idea of this, consumeristic culture, of this very, tabloid pop culture, phenomenon that we have here in America and have for quite some time, but it's only getting worse as the days pass. In reality, it's a criticism of the critics, and in reality, it's a criticism also of the people who allow this to happen. In reality, the critics to this album are merely stating that they were already a supermodel, this is their moment of weakness. I disagree. I find it to be a moment of strength. It's definitely a real album. Am I saying that it's better than Torches? Who gives a shit? My personal opinion, I like Torches just a little bit more, but that's because I put these two nearly on equidistant plates, or on equal plates, rather, equidistantly apart, because that's just the wrong use of the word. People are going to call me out on that. Who cares? These are two very, very good albums. They're two diverse albums, two very different albums for a band that just got themselves started, and I have a feeling that you're going to see that a lot from Foster the People as their career progresses. I really hope that that is where they continue and consider continuing going if they are kind of up in the air based around the reaction to this album. I feel that they're going to get a lot more out of what they do. They're going to enjoy what they do a whole hell of a lot more if they're able to do what it is that they want to do and explore where they want to explore. And I really hope that the reaction, and I really hope that the buys and everything like that, that people go out and support this band, definitely do so. They're not turned off by what they read. They're not turned off by maybe what they see. This is instead an album that does need to be explored, and it's one that needs to be explored multiple times. This is one of those albums where its subtle genius kind of bubbles over the first couple of times, but then finally, once you're able to, kind of claw your way down into its underbelly, you start to understand exactly what they were going for, and all of the pop and the happiness and the danciness kind of starts to become bubbled over with a little bit of anger, and you start to get it, and you start to understand. So this is one I suggest to try. This is one that I suggest to try twice, 3 times. Sold. I would probably give this a 79 out of 100. It's not perfect, but what album is? Torches I probably would have given right around the same score. It's the reason why I say I pretty much hold them on equal pedestals. What did you guys think about this album? Did you even listen to it? Is this an album where perhaps this whole idea of the supermodel culture is a true one? I think it is. Is it one where my thoughts and my feelings about how this record has been treated, are they outlandish or are they true? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll talk to you guys next time.